In the first set of weekly tasks, I expand on the starting area provided in the framework, and add the ability for the player character to shoot. I start off by creating a projectile. I create a blueprint actor and add a static mesh, setting a simple sphere and scaling it down. I then add a projectile movement component and set its values relatively low for testing purposes. And finally I create a simple emissive material and instance it before applying it to the projectile to make it glow. At this point, I build logic to test the projectile. As part of the framework, I was provided with a base weapon containing some pre-built code. I created a child of this blueprint and added an arrow component to the player character. Within the child of the weapon blueprint, I used event started to spawn actor of class set in the projectile, and used the world location and rotation of the arrow component to handle the projectile's transform. After a quick test, I move on to adjusting the projectile's collision settings to prevent them from colliding with the player character. I then add logic to the projectile to destroy it on hit, and give the blueprint a lifespan to delete itself after a set amount of time. With the shoot mechanic in a functioning state, I produce a quick target dummy. This simply uses event any damage and calls destroy actor. I gave the blueprint a static mesh component using a sci-fi barrel and rescaling it to be taller and adjusting its colours. Then inside the projectile I add an apply damage node before destroying the actor on hit. It's important to note that apply damage must be applied before destroying the owning actor due to order of operation. With some functioning core mechanics, I expand on the starting area. It's important to test the shoot mechanic at different elevations to ensure that the projectile behaves as intended, so I made a raised bridge section as the main focal point of this area. I positioned several of the dummies on a platform at the same elevation as the bridge for testing purposes, and to make the area a little more interesting, I created an acid pool in the centre of the map. For the acid, I created a blueprint actor with a static mesh component set to a simple cube. I adjusted the scale to fill the created pool, and applied an emissive green material. I set the collision of this box to overlap rather than block the player, using this overlap event to apply damage as an event by timer. When the player ends overlap, the timer is cleared and invalidated. This of course meant that I needed to add event any damage to the player character. This uses a branch with a boolean to determine if the player is dead. If not, then I subtract the damage from the current health, clamp the output between 0 and the max health variable, and use this to set the player's current health. After setting the player's current health, I called damage_fx, which was provided by the framework, check to see if the player's health is at or below 0, and if so, call the death event, which again was provided in the framework. To expand on the training dummy, I decided to add a couple of static meshes to the model, so I've given it the skull rock and just changed the material to a metallic sort of gunmetal colour. And for the eyes I've just put a simple sphere inside the skull, and I've set it to an emissive red. And on both of those I've set the collision to no collision. So to do a test through, we'll have a run around the area, and I've expanded out off to the right hand side to build a second area as required by the weekly tasks. I currently have three total weapons. We have the basic weapon. I've created a shotgun which fires multiple projectiles in a burst. They've got a shorter lifespan. It just picks a random vector within a clamped range. And then we've got the AR, the automatic rifle, which fires repeatedly. And this is the elevated platform here. We've just shot the targets over there. They were on that little red platform over there. We'll go around, we'll kill all of these training dummies. For the street lights, I've used a spotlight and just the street lamp mesh that was provided. The space over here where we've got the little raised platform, that's a red point light. Now if you notice the glow, the extra glow coming from the emissive acid pool here, you can see there's like a green light, and that's a rect light over the acid pool. Well, I think it's a couple of rect lights because of the maximum sizes over the acid pool, just to give it that extra glow. Just to demonstrate this, I'll go in and just show that that can kill the player. It slowly depletes your health. And then that calls the restart event. So now we'll move on over to the second area. Like a bit of a wasteland over here. So over here we've got one of the computer meshes that I've just tilted. And I've created a copy of it and I've saved it in the student work folder, just so that I can set that screen to be an emissive colour, because I think it makes quite a good street sign as it is. And I'm just sort of experimenting with this city aesthetic currently with this this build. The street light is again using a rect light just to give us that nice shape from the source. You can see where it glows on the inside there. It's sort of even a square light source projecting out. Going to have to change the colour of these pipes. They look really out of place now. I think that's all of the enemies. Pretty sure that's the entire level so far. 2 areas. Decorated using multiple different light sources with a modified training dummy. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Nebula Skull.